Learning a block Gemara. Today's Daf Shabbos Parshas Kiseitze is Daf Pei Aleph. So up to the Mishnah, and we already alluded to this Mishnah previously a couple of weeks ago. Says the Mishnah. Hakoine Shnei Elam. We learned before that if you buy 3 trees, you get the area in between the 3 trees as well. But if you only buy 2 trees, we'll have a machlekes between the Chachami Rameh. You purchased 2 trees. Do I get the land with it as well, or just buy the tree for its fruits? If the tree dies, I can no longer replant it. Says the Mishnah, Tanakama says you have not purchased the land. Rameir says, Rameir says, yes, you were koine the land as well. 2 trees is enough to be considered a sdei ilan, a field of trees. Now we'll see later in the Gemara when we talk about trees, what distances the trees can be. Do we say that they're scattered, or do we still say that they're like joined together? Now, as a result of that, according to Chachamim, that they say you don't get the land in between, so it comes out you have a certain benefit. Higidiloi, if your branches went beyond the tree, lo yishpe, no one has the right to cut them off, except the owner of the tree can, but no, the other person can't, because since he sold you the tree itself for the fruits, then you have a right to let the branches grow wherever they go. However, anything grows out of the tree itself, from the roots, which is the ground, shall bal karka. They belong to the owner of the karka. Sorry, I skipped a few words. If anything grows out of the tree, belongs to the owner of the tree because it's part of the tree. Anything that comes from the roots, which is from the ground, belongs to the owner of the ground, which is the vendor of the trees. He makes if the trees died, he has no right to replant again because you have no rights in the ground, in the soil itself. But what happens if Kana Shleish, according to Chachamim, 3, which Rameir holds 2 is enough. According to Chachamim, you need 3 trees. If you bought 3 trees, then Kana Karka, you get the Karka as well with the trees with it. Therefore, in this case, Higidilai, if the trees went beyond where their Karka is, then Yishpa. And the owner of the karka has a right to cut down those trees, because you only have a right to have the trees covering or hovering over the ground that came with the trees. But the rest of the land you have no rights to. Therefore, you can cut down the trees if the branches extend too far, because it causes them damage. The sun doesn't get sunlight and so on. Kana shloisha kana karka higdila yishbi cut down the oila min hageza. Anything that grows out of the tree, or in this case, even from the roots, from the ground, it belongs to the owner of the trees because he owns the ground where the trees are. The mesa yeshla karka. If the tree died, he has a right to replant it again because he owns the karka. Now, so basically, we have a machlekes or a meila. Chachamim according to Rameir, 2 trees, you own the land with it, and according to Chachamim, you don't. So we're going to bring another machlekes, which is very similar, and that is bekurim. That the first fruits you have to bring with you to the shalayim. And there you say a pasuk, and you say that the land that you gave me, so therefore it has to be that you own a share in the land. If you don't own a share in the land, then you don't bring any bekurim. So it says the Gemara, it's not how we learned the Mishnah in bekurim, the same machlekes. If you buy 2 trees in your friend's field, maybe you bring the bekurim, but ve'enu kaira, you do not say the psukim. Why don't you say the psukim? Because you can't say the land that you gave me, because it didn't. According to Chacham, if you only have 2 trees, you have no share in the land whatsoever. However, Rameir says, "Maybe v'kair." Rameir says he can not only bring, but he can also read, because Rameir holds that you have a share in the land. So therefore, you can say, "Ha'adoma shenasatli," the land that you gave me. Okay, so we have the same machlekes. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda and says the name of Shmuel, a big chiddush. That Mechayiv, Rameir holds not only if you own 2 trees because you own the land, even if you own 1 tree, and you don't own the land, you still bring bikurim. In fact, even if you don't own any trees, you buy fruits, you have a chiv of bikurim. That's what the Yehuda said, name of Shmuel. And the problem is going to be, how can you have a chayiv bikurim? You can't say the land that you gave me. So it says, even if you purchase fruits out there in the marketplace, you still have a chiyuv of bringing bikurim. Says the Gemara, How do you know such a chiddush? Why do you know such a chiddush? And besides that, why did the Mishnah then say that you could buy two trees, which is a bigger chiddush? If you buy just fruits, that's because Rameir was responding to Chacham. The Chacham hold that two trees is not the land. Rameir says, "Chol pachad be made to me by two trees." But truth be told, says Rameir, I hold that even just the fruits, and you're ready chai. And how does you know Mishmul know this make this big chiddush? Says the Gemara. Memai made the Tani Mishnah. You say that the Tani Mishnah Bekurim is superfluous. Once we have the principle, a mayor holds that if you own two trees, you own the land, and a Chum holds three trees, you own the land. Then we know that you bring Bekurim made by two trees, go to Chum by three trees. It's the extra Mishnah. Now, so the Gemara, Shmami Mechdi Tonal the Yeshle Karka. Once we learned already that two trees, you have the karka, or according to Chachamim, three trees, pshita, then maybe the kaida. So surely, if you have two trees, you bring according to a man, and you say the psukim because you can say the land that you gave me. Why don't you Mishnah specifically by Bekurim? Once I have the principle, even if you purchase fruits in the street, the obvious question is, you should bring from your land. The stress on your land is not that you actually have to, plant it and harvest and so on. Your land means, but not if it comes from Chutz La'aretz. Now, why would you think you'd be chai? We have a rule in Kedushin that any mitzvah which is on agriculture is only in Yisrael. So the Rashba and some Rishonim actually learn that the chiv of the kurv is very different than the chiv of Truma Maisa. The chiv of Truma Maisa devolves on the fruits itself. You're not allowed to eat from the fruits until it's tevel. Toiv loy. It's not good for you unless you give the Truma Maisa. But when it comes to Bekurim, it's not a chiv on the fruits, it's a chiv on the person. And because the chiv is a goof, you should be chiv everywhere in the world. And the only reason why you're not chiv is because we have this pasuk to tell you Artzacha only at Yisrael and not any other land. Other Rishonim say that cases right here, we would have compared to Loisavashal Diba Chalevi to the Mishnah Basal Chal written right next to each other, and that juxtaposition would tell us maybe that just like Basal Chal applies everywhere in the world, it's universal, perhaps the same thing should apply also by Bekurim. By Bekurim. And if we tell you, Bekurim is limited only to Yisrael. Says further, it says Ad Moscha. There's another passage which says Reishis Bekuri Ad Moscha, the Bekurim of your land. Again, what do you call it? That it sounds like that you can't just buy fruits only if you planted it. It's your land that you grew from. So the Gemara, no, that's Lemute Admas Akum, to exclude the land from a goy. If a goy plants, that's a throw, you're not chayiv in Bekurim. It says Ashen Satali. Part of the puzzle that you gave me. So if you didn't plant it, so it's not your fruits. Why would you bring Bekurim? Someone says, no, the Yovel is Uzi. It is my fruit. How did I buy it? With money. You gave me the money. Good enough. Moshe Rabba asked a question of Peter Mishmul and repudiates the whole thing. It says in the price clearly, if you only bought one tree, maybe they know Kaila. Rameir says you don't say the psukim official like karka. You don't own the land. Even Rameir clear that if you don't own the land, you don't bring to you. That's a good question. The Rashbam here raises a big controversy. The Rashbam here brings us another pasuk ad mascha to teach you to negate gerim. Actually, it's a machlokes tanaim. If a ger can bring, because it says the land that you gave our ancestors. So one opinion says that he can't say it. The Tanakama says he can't say it. He can bring Bekurim, but he cannot say the psukim. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, he could because Avram is Avram. Avram is the father of all the goyim. It's a big machlokes Rabbeinu Tam in the read right here in Tosfos regarding benching. Rabbeinu Tam says he would not allow a ger to go ahead and lead benching because he says he can't be the mezuman because he can't say the land that you gave to our ancestors. Following on from here, the Reed totally disagrees and he says definitely he can because Avram Avinu was the ancestor and they can therefore bench and say all that and lead mezuman as well. Thinking about it further. Rab Shimon ben Eliyakim, Rabbi Lazar. Rab Shimon ben Eliyakim said to Rabbi Lazar, tell me, I don't understand. My timer the Rab Meir be'ilan echad. What's the reason? Rab Meir says, by one tree you bring, but you don't say the psukim. What's the reason? What's the point of bringing if you cannot say the psukim? My time with the Rabbana Mishneilan. So why the Rabbana say by two trees you cannot say the psukim because you don't own the land, but you still bring the Bekurim? Why would you bring the Bekurim She cannot say the psukim. Says the Gemara. Oh my lies. This was the question that he asked to Rabbi Loza. Rabbi Loza got very insulted because he asked in public, and he wasn't afraid with the answer that he had. He wasn't happy with his answer. He didn't have an answer, so he felt that the person must have tried to humiliate him. Amalai Dava should have shamed the Amr by Tam. And Meir Chacham didn't give any reason to Shaleni by Samedish. You're asking in public without giving me an opportunity to think about it first and ask me privately. He obviously did to insult me. Anyway, Amar Abba says, I don't understand the question. My kusha, what's the big deal? Dilma, perhaps Rameir and the Rabbanon. Be'ilan echad, the Meir holds that one tree, he's not declaring emphatically that it's not your land and therefore you're not chayiv v'kurv. They have a question, so why bring it at all? He's mesupik. What's the din by one tree? And Rabbanon are mesupik by two trees. So therefore, when there's a suffix, you bring it. On the other hand, you don't say Hashem's name in vain, so you don't say the psukim. Simple. Dilma Rameir, be'ilan echad mesufim misapkin. Rabbanon holds one tree, I'm not sure. And the Rabbanon b'shnei ilanas fukim misapkin. Rabbanon by two trees say they're not sure, and therefore you bring, but you don't say pasuk. How can you tell me Rameir is not sure about one tree? He clearly says, it says, he says about one tree, you don't own the land, and that's why you don't say the psukim. So if you don't own the land, that's why you say psukim. What do you mean? There's no suffix here. It's clear. And so why bring it at all? Says the Gemara, and Amos, so Rabbah says, read the words Shema lekonakaka. Not that definitely you're not konakaka. I'm not sure. Therefore, as a suffix you bring it, but the suffix you don't say the psukim. Gemara later will ask, what's wrong with saying psukim? It's just psukim in the Torah. What's wrong with saying it? As we'll see in a minute. That's the Gemara. Last question. So what do you tell me? You're not sure. When you're bringing it, you're not sure if this is Bikurim or not. Maybe it's not Bikurim, and the problem is you bring it to the Mizbeach and you wave it, become Ayel Chulin Lazara. You bring it Chulin Lazara. The big machlekes are showing whether it's Asam HaTorah or whether it's also we had in the second Pegam Sochim as well tonight. Whether it's Asam HaTorah, it's only Asam Midrabanan. But either way, if it turns out to be that it wasn't Bikurim, so you just brought Chulin into the Beis HaMikdash. The L'chayda, there's not a problem bringing Chulin to Azara, whether you leave it in ice without the Rabban. Now, there's an interesting machlekes here in Shainim. When we say you're not allowed to bring Chulin to Azara, Tosfos holds when aren't you allowed to bring Chulin to Azara if it looks like a carbon, if you treat it like a carbon or something that belongs there. And the problem is, if it's not really Bikurim, it doesn't belong there. But you're bringing it up as if it is, you're waving it and all that. Or you bring a carbon in. But according to Tosfos, if you want to bring something which is nothing to do with the carbon, you stop. You want to bring chulin into the Azara, you can. And the Rambam clearly holds you cannot bring chulin into the Azara at all. Any chulin, anything that doesn't belong there, you have no right to bring it in there. Anyhow, I think one answer is the makdish lahu. What you do is you sort of make a condition. You say, look, if it's bekurim, it's bekurim. If it's not bekurim, I'm donating it to the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, it's kodesh either way. So it's not chulin la Azara. Says the Gemara. What are you talking about? What happens to Bikurim? The Kohen eats it. But if it's Hegdish, the Kohen can't eat it. If it's better Kabayas, he's being Moyel, he'll steal. Well, Boy Mechlana, the Kohen has to eat it. And maybe it wasn't Bikurim. If it wasn't Bikurim, you donated the value of it to the Beis HaMikdash. And if anybody uses it, they're stealing. And you bring a Korban Hasham Eilis, you pay the penalty, the principal and the additional fifth. The particle who has the Gemara that you redeem it. The Kohen has to redeem it. After he puts it on his Mizbeach and he waves it, he then takes it and he redeems it. Says the Gemara, I'm going to ask a question. Maybe he wasn't Bikurim. And if you treat like Bikurim, you don't have to give Truma Maisa because Bikurim is the Truma Maisa. The Kohen just eats, in fact, a person wants, he could convert his entire field into Bikurim, and there's no problem. So the Gemara says, and if it turns out to be it's not Bikurim, and meanwhile you don't have to give Truma Meiser, don't you have a problem? How can you eat it without giving a Truma? But Dimala Bikurim, become Afkielu, and you're taking away from Truma, and comes out the Bikurim is Tevel. This thing that you thought was Bikurim is Tevel, and you're not allowed to eat it. And what about the Meiser? So we answered the Mafresh Lahu. So complicated here. We're saying that you actually set aside the Truma because you're not sure. So you were Machma, you set aside the Truma, you set aside the Meiser. Now, what do you do with the Truma and the Maisa? You give it to the Kohen, who's right there. You gave the same Kohen, you gave the Bikurim to, he sets it aside and eats it himself. So there's no loss there. Talking about 1 second. That doesn't work on everything. It's Bishlema Truma Gdoila, you let the Kohen. You give it to the Kohen. Maisa Sheinami, you let the Kohen. You give it to the Kohen. Maisa Shein, you have to eat in Shalim. So the Kohen is in Shalim. He'll eat it there. Meiser Oni, and the 3rd year and the 6th year, you give Meiser to a poor person. So we'll look for a coin that's poor. Now, you have a coin, only give it to a coin that's poor. My question is, Meiser Rishon, that belongs to a Levi, but if it turns out to be, it isn't Bekurim, and you gave it all to a coin, what about the Meiser Rishon? And you can't give it to Levi because maybe it's Bekurim. A Bekurim can only be given to a coin. So what do we do? What's the solution? So the Gemara says, who do you give it to? Answers the Gemara, you give it to. You give it to a Levi. How can you give it to a Levi? This you give it to a Kohen. How can you give it to a Kohen? Because as we'll see, there's a big machlekes. Who's entitled? The big machlekes Shem how to learn the Gemara. One way of learning Gemara is machlekes mahatayra. What are you supposed to do with Meiser? So one opinion is you can either give it to a Levi or to a Kohen, and the other opinion says no, it's only to a Levi. Then Ezra penalized the Levim if they didn't want to come to the base of Bigdush, so also because they cut the thumb. So Ezra went ahead and he penalized them. So if you learn that prior to this knas, the Kohen and the Levi could have had Maisa, so now only the Kohen has Maisa. If you learn that prior to the knas, only the Levim had Maisa, so after the knas, both of them, you can choose either the Kohen or the Levi. But the bottom line is you can give this Kohen, you give the Bikurim to him and say, you keep the Maisa as well. The Yoav Leila Kohen can have Tanya you learn Truma Gdoila Kohen, Truma according to Bakiva, Truma Gdoila goes to a Kohen, Maisa Rishon goes to a Levi. If you have Bakiva, only to Levi. Maisa Rishon the Kohen, the Maisa Rishon is the Kohen. If we take away the word af and just say to Kohen, they're arguing Mahatoida, who they're arguing. They're only if you learn afla kohen, that means mehater. They're arguing whether it's only a Levi exclusively or a kohen and a Levi. If you take away the word af and you say just a kohen, that means post the penalty. So who says this opinion just a kohen? It's the one who holds that prior to the penalty either one, and post the penalty only the kohen. And what exactly is the machlekes? Why does one opinion say that it's only the Levi? The other one says Levi or kohen. Because there's a famous Hakira that how do we understand the role of a Kohen? There's 2 ways of understanding. One way of understanding it, a Kohen is a Levi plus another layer of Kedusha. Another way of understanding is that a Kohen and a Levi are 2 separate communities, 2 separate groups, 2 separate tribes. And therefore, if you learn that a Kohen is a Levi plus, so then Maisa is an entitlement of the Levim, and the Kohen don't lose that entitlement. So you have a choice, Levi or Kohen, and post the Knas only to Kohen. But if you learn that a Kohen is a totally separate tribe, vis-a-vis the Levim, if the Torah says you give Maisa to a Levi, a Kohen has no right to eat it at all. Post the Knas, you have a choice. So bottom line is you give the Bekurim to the Kohen, and you say if it's either Bekurim or maybe if it's not Bekurim, then we treat it like it's Chulin, and we have to give Truma, Maisa, and all those things to this Kohen, and he's a poor person, so give him Maisa Sheni as well. Maisa only as well if it's a third of 60. Says the Gemara, if it's Bekurim, you have to say the Psukim, and you can't, because you don't know if it's Bekurim, as you said before. It's a suffix. When it says Kriya Makeves, it doesn't really matter whether you say the Psukim or not. So no, we have a famous rule that we've encountered a number of times in Shas, and that rule is from Rab Zeda. And the rule is as follows: when sometimes if you didn't do it, doesn't matter, but you could have done it if you wanted to. If you're unable to do it, then it does matter. So, for example, by mincha, you have to give 60 esrainim, you put in 1 pot. If it's 61 esrainim in the measure, then you have to put the mincha in 2 pots. Why? Because you'll be able to stir it. Now, the din is if you didn't stir the mincha, it's still kosher. So, therefore, who cares? It doesn't matter. As long as you're able to stir it, it's good enough. But the moment you put 61 esrainim in 1 pot, it's unable to be stirred, then it's a problem. So, l'chayda, this book putting, you're unable to say a pasuk. So how come it's unable? Because maybe it's chulin. You're saying it's a suffix. So how come you bring the bekurim? The pasuk will be ma'akiv. So you want to answer the question. If you can't stir it, then the bila is not ma'akiv. But if it's not able to be stirred, then bila is ma'akiv. So l'chayda, how can you bring the Bikurim, this questionable Bikurim, the way Rabbi explains, it's questionable, and that's why you bring without a pasuk. If you can't make a pasuk, you don't bring either. Says the Gemara because it's possible. You get around it by Rabbi Yosef Chanina. There's a way of getting around it where you can bring it without saying a pasuk. And what's the story there? Rabbi Yosef Chanina Amri says, "Bitzaron." Let's say you go ahead and you harvested the crop. And you sent in the hand of a shliach. If you send in the hand of a shliach to the shleim, then if you go up there, you can still make the bracha and everything else. You can see the shliach himself cannot make the bracha because he's not the one. It's not his field, and he's not the one who harvested it. But and you can't say I shouldn't have sat to li. How can the shliach say sat to li? But if the shliach brought it up, even though you should bring it up, it says in the pasuk that you should bring it. You should bring it, but shliach only kamaisa. So then you can go up there and you can say the pasuk. You're saying ha'eres sat to li, my land. But what happens with me shliach? Baderech, the shliach died somewhere in the way. Then maybe the einu koide. Then you bring it. Let's say you appoint another shliach, you bring it, and you don't say the psukim. My time, but why can't you say the psukim? Why can't I say the psukim? It says the same person who took it is the one who brought it. So if the shliach right before he died appoint another shliach, you bring it, but you can no longer say the psukim. So here's a way of circumventing it where you can bring the bikurim and not say the psukim. And that's how we did this here. So what's the question? You don't have to. The whole thing, you're telling me it's a suffix. We don't want you to say the psukim. Just bring it. I don't understand. All it is a psukim. Liki. What's the big deal? Why can't they say the psukim? He says, the problem is, why are you saying the psukim? Because you're bringing bikurim. So it looks like you're saying the psukim because you know that definitely it's bikurim, but maybe it's not bikurim. And if it's not bikurim, maybe it's not considered your karka if you only own 2 trees, and therefore you're lying. In a way, Rashbam says you're lying because you're saying, psukim to do with bikurim when it isn't. And he quotes a pasuk that and somebody speaks falsehoods, don't stand before my eyes. But if you start reading it in the Torah, it's all right. So the Gemara further, the son of Chia says, Dilma, we're worried that somebody sees what you're doing and sees you saying psukim, he'll think that it's definitely bikurim. And then, what do you call it? Dilma asil bikurim miturim ma'aseh. And then he'll think it's bikurim. So in the future, that person or even the person who brought it will think, well, I said the psukim. That means they accept it as bikurim. So I don't have to give truma. I don't have to give ma'aseh and all that. And we just gave a whole remedy that we need to take care of ma'aseh because it's a suffix. But this person, if we allow him to say psukim, he'll think there's no suffix, or somebody else watching it will think there's no suffix. He think definitely it's bikurim. To avoid that problem, we say, no, don't say psukim, and they're going to worry. They're going to query why don't you say psukim, and they'll find out because it's a suffix when you have 2 trees. If you can still say, you still have the land or not. If you can still say the psukim. You're chayiv in the bikurim. Suffix by 2 trees if you get the land with it according to Rabbanon, according to the Meir, 1 tree if you get the land with it or not. We'll stop here. Have a good bach.